All right, good evening, everyone. This is Charles with the Exodus Logistics Learning Center. It is Wednesday, April 26th, 2023, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's been a long day for me, but that's fine. I've been on pretty much a lot of news outlets promoting the branding and commercials and segments on local television stations and things like that, promoting the Learning Center, Exodus Logistics Learning Center. So I would definitely want to see if you guys had any questions along your path in dispatching, where you are. Is there anything on the site that you are having trouble understanding so that you can make your learning journey much better? Want to make sure that you guys are good, as always. Because if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be who I am, right? So, some Q&A. I want to open up for some Q&A. For those of you who are guests, because I've been inviting guests recently, if you can, type a 1 in the chat box. If you are a new member just enrolling within the last week or so, or two, type a 2. In the chat so we can acknowledge you guys. Okay, Nessie, Vanessa, Cantu, Ada, Jacqueline, Lakia. Welcome all the new members. Of those new members, have all of you gained access to the members portal? Have you been approved to come into Regina's a guest. Welcome, Regina. She's number 1, a guest. Everyone is typing yes that they have access to the portal. Okay, very good. And then in addition to that, navigating the portal itself, are you guys, because we're redesigning the portal in the background behind the scenes before we go live again to make it even, it's user-friendly now, but we're going to make it even more user-friendly for you so that you can learn and progress and transition right into dispatching and maybe scale your company into maybe a trucking company, maybe a freight brokerage, whichever direction you want to head in afterwards. So you got all of you guys who said yes, that you are in the portal. Let's go to that portal, as a matter of fact. Members portal. And Daphne said, saw the TV is awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. And not sure what this is, notification. I'll go back and look at that later. Or now. So let's go back. Check that out real quick. It takes you to a screen here and notifications. Oh, that's probably my team doing some stuff in the background. Okay, that's fine. No notifications yet. They're testing it, so I don't want to touch that. Okay. So anyway, members portal. Cantu said you're not in the portal, but you are an enrolled member. So if that is the case, if you have enrolled recently within a week or two and you have not gotten into the portal, when you enrolled, there should have been an email receipt of your purchase. Attached to that email should have been a PDF with some instructions, one of which would have had a link in it taking you to this page here. Okay. In that page is where you set up your email and password to log in. I'm logged in, I'm not gonna log out, but it would say log in or sign up. And you would hit, of course, sign up because it's your first time. You would enter the email and pass. So you did that. So what email did you enter to gain access to the portal? Because it may have been different than the one that you enrolled with. That could be the issue. What email did you enter? Was it different than the one you enrolled with? It's the same. Can you type that email here now, if you don't mind? We can literally check. That way we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone at hotmail.com. Okay, so I'm going to copy that and literally go over so you can literally see where and I'm going to check in the back office of the website. So Regina, are you a member or you are a guest? You're a guest on this training tonight, right, Regina? I believe you typed that you were a guest.
Oh, I didn't mean it. I'm actually a member, but when you sent us the link to sign up, we didn't do it at the time because we want to wait till today, remember?
Okay, so did you submit that today to get access to the portal?
No, I did not. That's probably why I don't have it.
That's probably why. I didn't want to say it, but
Hey, I mean, like,
okay,
yeah. But I
so
was actually trying to find the one you sent a few weeks ago, but I didn't actually see it in my email. So yeah.
okay, so in this site members page in my Wix editor, we have people who are members, people who are pending, people who've been blocked, and things like that. So, Miss Ukantu just gave me an email, so I'm going to enter that one to see. First of all, what I first do when someone says they don't have access but they are a member, I check the site members. I'll paste their email and do a search for them, and there it is. Ukantu, which is Monique under the name Monique Sinclair Myrie. It says you have access under site members. Your last login was 2 days ago, the 24th. So I'm not sure why you're not accessing. You're not having access to the site. So when you go to the site, which we're here, if you click members portal main menu, if you're not logged into this, do you see this page right here? The name under that email is Monique. So if I can call you Monique, that would be fine, right? Do you see, she said, let her check. Okay. If you don't see this page, then you haven't signed in. You may have been granted access, but you haven't logged in yet with an email and the same email and password that you submitted to get access and got approved 2 days ago under. So, and then now you, Regina, you just go through those same steps and submit that email and password. It'll send us an alert and we will approve that. What we normally do, we'll check against the spreadsheet to see if people are members, because believe it or not, we have a lot of people, and I don't know why, we must be a good training at this point, who submit to have access to our portal who have not enrolled in the course. So I'm like, I can't give you access until you enroll. So, but yeah, so Monique is checking, Regina is going to do hers, and then Terrence says that, Terrence, are you a member? Are you are you someone who has enrolled? In other words. And then the email he put up there is that, and we'll just simply, instead of me asking, let me just check. How about that? It saves a lot of time. So I'll just put, and Terrence, your email is not showing as a member. I'll go to the pending page. Your email is not showing as pending. I'll go to the block page. So I don't know if you've enrolled or anything. So you haven't even. So, all right, have you enrolled? Have you paid for the course?
Yes, Regina and I, can you hear me?
Yes, I got you.
Regina and I paid together. That's my wife. So,
okay, got it. So the both of you need to just go follow the steps here on this page. When you go to this page, step 1, where it says step 1, initial email and password setup. Put an email, whatever email. It could be the same email that you purchased with, or it could be another email, maybe a business email. Put that email in and then put your password, whatever your password is, and then hit submit. And then we will get an alert of that. We will check the email against our spreadsheet of enrolled members. So if you are an enrolled member or you just paid and you're using an email that's different from the email that you paid for, you have to let us know, because we're going only by the email that you purchased under. Unless you tell us it's a different one, right? You see what I'm saying? So that's how that works. Okay. So I'll
Okay,
wait. Go
I
ahead.
believe we used Regina's email when we purchased or when we paid. I am now looking at my email and I see on the 24th, you sent me something for the members portal. So
Right.
do,
So
are
you
we gonna
follow
go
the
ahead?
steps. You follow the steps
Right.
in that, and then go from there. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
All right. All right. Thank you guys. Okay. So no problem. So now I'm opening the floor to some Q&A. Where are you guys? Okay. So Ukantu says she's in. So Monique is in. Very good. Very good. Ukantu's in. So good. All right. So I just want to make sure that that's the steps. I'm probably going to simplify that even more, but so we'll go from there. Okay. So Q&A. I want to get some questions, you guys, questions, and it could be any question. It could be questions related to navigating this process, so that because I know some people are asking a question like, I want to be able to understand, the workflow of this training. What do I do? How do I flow through this, correctly? The main features in the trainings are the self-paced modules, right? Going through this, that is the meat of the self-paced course, the 90 days that you have logging in here and training, right? But there are other supplemental resources to use as well, tools, docs, and resources under here. The affiliates and social media, that's just connecting to our network outside of the trainings, right? So these last two columns, I don't want to say they're not important, but they're not in regards to training, right? But the self-paced modules and the tools, docs, and resources, these two columns here are your main columns you're going to be dealing with as it relates to training, okay? My question also, Jacqueline. Jacqueline had a question. Jacqueline, if you're able to unmute yourself. Oh, I see your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is. I was asking the same question about navigating, because every time I come in, I think I'm just going to all the resource materials and not actually into the training. So when you just did what you did, I realized what I'm doing wrong, which is once I go to the site, I don't go down to that second.
This second column. So what I'll do
Right.
is I'll put self-paced modules, and I'll put another, like in parentheses, like something like
Start here or something.
like start here, or meat
Right.
of training or something like that, right? The main area, right?
Right.
Training. So because we have 4 modules in here, right? Because to be an independent freight dispatcher, you want to first get your business name. Let me answer this other question real quick too. I didn't get the Facebook name. So if you are in the portal, you didn't get the Facebook name, it is right here under the social media, ELLC social media. Join new Facebook group. I'm going to open that in a new tab, and it takes you to our dispatcher 101. Members only is in all caps. We had a previous private Facebook group of the same name, but it said dispatcher 101 and members only was not in all caps. That group had gotten compromised, if you will, hacked or so forth. So I created another one. It's still open and it's still being monitored, but this is the main one. If you don't see all caps, then you're in the wrong private group. And you just simply log into your account, search for this one, and then hit join, and then we will, and this is for members only. We're going to check, because it's going to ask you some questions. What have you enrolled? What's your email? Yada, yada, yada. So we can check and see if it's you, and then we will allow you into the group where you can network with other like-minded dispatchers and continue on. So Keisha Stover asked, and let's get back, and I'll get back to yours too, Jacqueline, in the main, because this will help everyone. Keisha Stover asked, to obtain your MC number, are you required to already have your CDL and your truck? So you're speaking about a truck driver, a motor carrier, and owner operator. Yes, it would make sense if you're going to apply for a motor carrier operating authority, an MC authority. It would stand to reason that you have a commercial driver's license, a CDL, right? You may not have a truck. You may be leasing a truck from someone. So the second part of that question, and your truck, I mean, it's ideal to have a truck when you get your authority. But you definitely need a CDL, a commercial driver's license. I don't think the FMCSA is going to give an authority, an operating authority to operate a commercial vehicle to someone without a commercial driver's license. Does that make sense? Right. So So the last part of that question though, and the truck part, you could be renting a truck from someone, leasing on to someone's authority or things like that. But the main part, the CDL part, I think that's probably a no-brainer, a dead giveaway. You got to have a commercial driver's license to get an authority to operate a commercial vehicle, right? So now from a dispatcher's perspective, I'm assuming you're asking this question from a dispatcher's perspective. As far as the truck drivers and the carriers you're going to be dealing with, right? If you're dispatching someone, I wouldn't recommend trying to dispatch for someone who doesn't have a CDL and or a truck. How are you going to find loads for them, right? A broker is not going to give their freight to someone who doesn't have the authority or who can't drive the truck, who doesn't have a commercial license, right? So the having a motor carrier authority almost, I don't want to say completely does, but almost implies that you have a CDL and a truck, right? Almost. But she was asking as a dispatcher. So as a dispatcher, you do not need an MC authority. Okay. So when you apply for an MC authority at the fmcsa.dot.gov website, you're going to fill out this form called the OP-1 form. That is the application for a motor carrier and broker authority. Okay. So it's two types of authorities that OP-1 form applies to. Nowhere on there does it say dispatcher. So dispatchers do not need an operating authority to dispatch. So I can repeat that. Dispatchers do not need an operating authority to dispatch a motor carrier who has an operating authority, right? If you are a dispatching business or a dispatching company, someone said, it sounds to me that you have to have your CDL in order to dispatch. No, you do not. Yeah, you do not have to have a CDL to be a dispatcher. You do not have to have a commercial driver's license to dispatch another person who has a commercial driver's license and an authority to drive a truck and transport freight. All you need is your business license in order, right? Your company name, your EIN, LLC, however you structure that, and a contract, if you will, or an agreement, a dispatcher agreement between you and the person who does have a CDL and an authority, which is the driver. The dispatcher is not a requirement for a dispatcher to have a CDL nor an MC. If a dispatcher applies for a motor carrier authority, guess what? They're no longer a dispatcher, because on the form, they are either applying for an operating authority as a broker or as a motor carrier. Okay, let me show you what I mean by that. I'm gonna go to the broker side and grab the form that I'm referring to. And what I'll do is I'll download it to my desktop to have it there. I thought I could have sworn I had it there, but that's fine. I'm going to download it to my desktop so it's there. But this is the form. Okay, so when you go to let me enlarge this a little bit. Okay, so when you apply, when you say MC, I need to get my MC number or MC authority to be a dispatcher. No, you do not. The form you need to apply to have an MC authority is the OP-1. This is the literal form right here. Here's the FMCSA logo along with DOT, the two governing bodies, right? It's the current form, right? Expiration of May 31st, 2024. That's next year. So it's still good, right? Here's the form identifying number. Okay, instruction. It says application for motor property carrier and broker authority. That's the instruction, and it's 16 pages. Most of it's stuff that you read so you can understand what you're filling out. But is the word or dispatcher anywhere on this form or in the title? Application for motor property carrier and broker authority. If you apply for an operating authority as a dispatching company, you have to select under section 2, which is the type of authority, either a motor carrier type or a freight broker type. Nothing in there says anything about a dispatcher. So people have been mentioning and I'm not saying you guys, but some people are under the assumption or the presumption that you have to have an authority to be a dispatcher, or you have to have a CDL or any of those things that relate to moving freight commercially, and you don't. As a dispatcher, you don't. The only thing you need is your business setup, your business name registered in your state, the structure of your company, whether it's a sole prop, LLC, S corp, partnership, whatever, however you decide to structure it, and a federal identification number attached to that, what's called an EIN, employer identification number, and that's at the irs.gov website. Once you get all that together, you'll have an official business in place, and you may receive in the mail something called like an articles of organization, articles of corporation, whatever they call it in your state. You are official, right? Then you would need a contract with the person who does need to have an authority that you're going to be dispatching for. It's not, and you only have 2 options according to this application. Either who do you think as a dispatching company you're going to be dispatching for? The broker or the motor carrier? And I love interacting.
Motor carrier.
The motor carrier, right? There's no way you're going to be dispatching for a freight broker. That's not going to happen, right? So you're going to be dispatching for the motor carrier, right? That's the person who does need to have a CDL, a commercial driver's license, right?
Right.
And an operating authority to transport for a fee goods from a shipping facility to a receiving facility. Those people, and the ones that we advise you to target as a dispatcher are those individuals who are what's called owner operators. They have their own MC and DOT number, not someone who's a company driver under a company, because they may have a dispatcher for the company internally dispatching them already and got specific loads from specific customers already for them. So they're dispatching them internally. You target, ideally, you guys should target owner operators. Do you have so when you're talking to a truck driver, let's say at a truck stop or through a cold call, when you start your pitch, you can ask them, hey, are you under a load or looking for a load, right? They're going to wonder if you're a broker or not. And then you have to define who you are. Well, I'm a dispatching company. Are you an owner operator or a company driver? That's how you distinguish between the two. Are you an owner op? And you can say it like that. You can say the jargon like that so they'll have an idea that you know what you're talking about, right? Are you an owner op or a company driver? If they say company driver, you're going to be you still can probably, if they're leased on to a company, you may be able to get a dispatcher agreement if that company that they're leased on to allows them to find their own loads. But if the company books the loads for them internally, then it's off limits to you. That's why I specifically suggest owner operators, because those are the ones who they have to find their own loads. If they don't work, they don't eat. They find their own loads through shippers and brokers, and they move their own freight, and they invoice. They pay their own truck notes, truck insurance. They pay for their own fuel, either through getting the fuel card through the broker, or through a surcharge, or however. They are independent. They are businesses. They are their own trucking companies. So dispatchers do not need CDLs, a commercial driver. You can have a commercial driver's license. I got a commercial driver's license, but I'm not driving a truck anymore, okay? I'm not even dispatching anymore. I'm just training, right? But it's not a requirement. That's what I'm saying. So so remove the presumption that a dispatcher needs to have an MC number. Remove the presumption that a dispatcher needs to have a commercial driver's license. And I don't know, are there any other presumptions out there about dispatchers we can kind of put to bed as well, you know, through this Q&A, right? So dispatchers do not need a do not need to have a CDL, nor do they need to have an operating authority. Because if they have an operating authority, guess what? Again, they are no longer dispatchers. They are either brokers or motor carriers. Okay. Are we clear on that part? iPhone, you got your hand. I see your hand raised, Mr. iPhone. Can you unmute yourself, sir?
Yeah, like, is it a filing fee for the document?
For what document? This document here?
For the broker document, yes.
So if you, yes, so are you saying so you're asking as a dispatcher, or you just saying in general to apply for a motor carrier and a broker authority?
In the future, I do intend on pursuing broker's license and authority and everything. So I just thought I should know. Right.
So yes, the fee, when you go to the fmcsa.dot.gov website, it's a non-refundable one-time $300 fee. Also, on the application, it will list the cost. Let's scroll down. So you can ask, so the application will explain everything that you need to know. So overview, yada, 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 how to apply online, by mail.
Okay.
Right here, what is the cost? You see that? $300 each, right there. So let's say you applied for either a broker or a motor carrier or both. Let's say you were someone who wants to be what's known as an asset-based broker, right? You applied for the broker side and the carrier side. Each side you apply for is $300. So now you're paying $6. Okay. Someone just asked a question in the chat. The fee is for the driver. Yeah. So the fee is for either the person who's applying as a motor carrier, the driver, or as a person who is applying as a freight broker. One or the other. Because remember, at the top of the application, there are two types of people who apply for this particular operating authority, either as a driver or a motor. So when it says motor property carrier, that's the truck driver. Okay. Just so we're clear. And then the other one is the broker authority. That is the freight broker. That is someone who arranges for the transportation of freight. The person who moves the freight is the authorized motor carrier, which is this person here. Both parties have to have what's called an operating authority. This is the form that both parties use to apply for their specific operating authority. Okay. All right. Any other questions? But that was a good question though that we needed to clear up, because it seemed like some people. So who is Posh Logistics?
I had one.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Someone just applied for access under Posh Logistics. I need to find out who that is.
I wanted to ask about the EDI.
Okay. So the EDI, what does EDI stand for? Do you know?
Electronic data interchange.
Okay, so now that is a freight broker type of question. Now this is a dispatching class, so I'm not sure if
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't understand what it was. I just wanted to know, could a dispatcher be EDI enabled?
Technically, no, because to be EDI enabled, that's a two-way communication between the broker and the customer who they're getting that data from, the load tenders from. Okay.
Oh, okay. So that would be double brokering then for a dispatcher.
Well, EDI integration, I'm going to say it has nothing to do with double brokering, because they're not going to even allow a dispatching company to even remotely get close to EDI, because you're not a shipper, manufacturer, or you're not a broker, right? So maybe one day you probably need to come to the broker class, because these are broker related questions. So I would advise you this Friday, tune in. Are you a guest? Who is this, by the way? This is the iPhone gentleman.
Yes, sir.
Are you a guest?
No, I'm a member.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, Yeah, you're
I've been
asking.
member for 3 days.
Oh, 3 days. Okay. Well, it seems like you joined the wrong class. You probably should have enrolled in the freight broker class. You're asking freight broker questions as opposed to dispatching questions.
I intended on it. I just wanted to make sure I thoroughly knew everything regarding
Okay, okay.
dispatch.
All right, good, good. So what my advice to you would be is, and I'm not sure if you heard this expression before, and don't take it the wrong way. Don't put the cart before the horse.
Okay.
Right? Get the dispatching, get the knowledge from what you've joined. Right. So what is your name, sir?
Armand Coleman.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so get your dispatching aspects down first. Get your first carrier, move your first load, make your first money, right? Revenue. And then as you automate that process, then later on, maybe after 6 months to a year, you consider scaling and transitioning to freight brokering. Because by then, you're going to be talking to in 6 months, you got a carrier or 2 or 3, you're going to be dealing with brokers all the time because you're going to be calling those brokers from the load boards based off of loads that you found for your carrier. So you're going to be having that relationship back and forth. So then when you transition into a broker, it's going to make your transition a little smoother because you understand the lingo and the mannerisms of a freight broker because you're dealing with them as a dispatcher for your carrier. And so you see why we suggest that starting as a dispatcher is the easiest entry point, and then you scale and transition to the next level, dispatcher, brokering, dispatcher, either trucking or brokering, and then further along in the transportation industry, in the supply chain and logistics. Okay. I see 2 hands. Thank you, sir. Regina and then Marty. Regina, go ahead.
Okay, so when you were explaining to us about dispatching, the assets based, what were you saying? Like you were saying if you be a dispatcher and then get your broker's license. I was trying to catch that.
Okay, so that was more of we were talking about the broker side. Asset based deals with, and what an asset is either a truck or a trailer. That's an asset. Mm-hmm. If you are a freight broker, you can be what's called an asset-based broker with a trucking division of your brokerage, or a non-asset based broker that don't have any trucks. Most new brokers start off as non-asset based. They just apply for their broker authority without any trucks, and then they get trucks by onboarding them or getting them approved under their brokerage. Why are we talking about brokering, by the way? This is dispatching class. I could have sworn it's dispatching class.
No. I just wanted to know what that meant because I'm like, okay.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Look, listen, I'll answer any question. Okay. I'm just saying, like, but I'm thinking like, wow, in the realm of dispatching though, you guys are, but that's okay. That's okay. We could, it all relates to at some point. So as a dispatcher, you can be, so let's use that asset term from a dispatcher's perspective. Let's say you get we got a treat tonight. We have our factoring company representative in here as well, which is Monica from Seven Oaks. But let's use that term asset. As a dispatcher, you may hear that term if you dispatch for a trucking company that has, let's say, 3 trucks or 5 trucks. Guess what? Those 3 or 5 trucks, those are assets, right? So you're dispatching for a carrier because a carrier is considered a trucking company with multiple trucks or multiple assets, right? So now you're dispatching for a carrier and you're dispatching for 3 assets or 5 assets. So you can either charge that company one flat rate or you can charge them for each of those assets that you dispatch. It's how you structure your contract with that particular carrier or particular trucking company. Okay. You see how I'm saying the terms real slowly so you guys can see the how they relate, right? How synonymous they are. Because a carrier and a trucking company can be one and the same, are one and the same. You know? So, Marty.
Yes, I just wanted to extend on these 2 questions. So would you advise for someone who wants to be a broker but starts as a dispatcher now to keep them 2 separate businesses?
I would definitely advise that. Yes, you want to keep them separately for your paperwork purposes, for liability purposes, for legal purposes. Keep your dispatching company, get a separate EIN, than your freight brokerage or your trucking division.
Okay.
Some people say, let me do a one universal company, like a logistics company, and do several DBA under that, right?
It's too dangerous because you're putting all your eggs in one basket, right?
Exactly, because if you do DBAs under the same company, guess what? They're under the same structure. They're under the same EIN.
If
They're
you get sued, they get everything.
Ding, 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 ding. Exactly. Right. So let's use common sense at this point, right? Let's think about this.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Yeah, thank you so much.
Right. Right. Okay. So Monica's here. Hello, Monica. This is a surprise. Monica from Seven Oaks. Hello, Monica's Seven Oaks. I just wanted to join.
Hey, everybody.
So Monica's, it sounds like you're outside walking your dog, but Monica is our resident factoring company representative. She is she can answer any question on factoring. What is factoring? Types of factoring. How does that relate to a dispatcher's? Can a dispatcher be paid through the carrier's factoring company? Things of that nature, right? So if you have any questions for factoring, and what is, if you've never heard that term before, what does that word mean? Factoring. What is that? Are you saying factory or factoring, right? You would know, right? So Monica can answer any of those questions.
Yes. How are you guys? Just wanted to check in for a minute and say hi. It's been a very busy time for me, taking care of all the new dispatchers, and so I haven't been able to log in too much on Facebook, and then it's at this time of the day usually I'm on some volleyball thing for my daughter. So it's been hard for me to get into the sessions, but I will try my best to check in more often and just answer any questions you may have about factoring. It's been I've been working with Charles for a couple of years already, and it's just been so good. We think alike. We have the same values and providing information to all our trainees and all our partners, as much information as we can, so y'all can make your decisions with the information we give you. So we're not just here to sell our services or a product or just push something. It's just to provide information. And a lot of people that has been working with me know that. I've just been talking to a lot of people. It takes time, and time is money, but I would rather, it's good to inform people about the industry, about all the things that could happen while factoring, learning a lot about factoring before you send your carrier to another factoring company. It's just we work in different ways. Not all factoring companies work the same. So that's one thing that you need to learn. We're the one that provides the quick pay without being such an expensive quick pay for the carrier. So
someone just put a question in there for you, Monica, I believe. How much after 45 days? Because I pasted your information in the chat. So it says 95%, up to 95% advance, 2% first 45 days, 25 years of service. So someone's saying, well, how much, what will the percentage be after 45 days? Usually
it's 0.75% for every additional 15 days. 15 days after the 45 days. And that is and when we're talking about 45 days, is how long the broker is taking to pay. It's not like how long the carrier has been factoring. It's how long the broker is taking to pay. So it's 0.75% for every additional 15 days after the 45 days. For example, if a carrier bills a broker and the broker pays within 30 days, the factoring fee will be 2%. If they pay at day 50, it'll be 2.75%.
So it's the 45 days, 2%. But if they pay beyond that, then you add that extra 0.75 or whatever that is.
It's just because the banks will charge us more for the money that if we don't have that money back yet. So We work with our banks as well. And usually the net 30 is the standard payment terms for the majority of brokers. And that's when we offer 45 days, because if we receive most factoring companies, you offer 30-day. And sometimes the payment comes in at day 32, 33, 35. We don't want to charge a extra percentage just for 5 days. So that's why we extended it all to 45 days, because we know most brokers pay net 30.
So let me ask a question here. So let me circle back a little bit, because I know we got some new people here. What is factoring? And this is from a dispatcher's perspective, because a dispatcher they have a relationship with a truck driver, a motor carrier, trucking company, what have you. So we're talking about what is factoring as it relates to the carrier that they're dispatching for. So define what factoring is. And then someone asked another question. Can you break down the different types of factoring, recourse and non-recourse? Okay.
Yes. So
right.
Factoring is basically an advance on the invoices, on the carrier's invoices. So usually—
All right, so let me stop you there, Monica. I hate to be like an interrupter, right? But I see, so for new people, I want to, as you say certain things, I want to break it down so they understand what that means. So factoring the invoices. So as a dispatcher, when your truck driver picks up a load from a shipper and delivers it to a receiver, right? They pick the load up, they get what's called a BOL, a bill of lading, okay? And that bill of lading is the shipping facility loads that trailer of your carrier's truck, right? They load the trailer with the freight, and then they sign off on that freight saying, hey, we're giving you, Mr. Carrier, possession of this freight on the BOL. They sign it off. Now the carrier is responsible for that freight while in transit from the shipper to the receiver, okay? When they get to and they have the BOL with them in possession that the carrier signed off on it. When they get to the receiver for delivery, the receiver checks the freight, offloads it from the trailer, because they're receiving the freight for delivery, right? They're going to sign on the BOL saying, now we're taking possession of the freight. We're taking ownership of the freight, the receiver, from you, Mr. Carrier. So we're doing we're indemnifying you, or removing you, Mr. Carrier, from responsibility now, because you've delivered it securely without any overage, shorts, and damage, or whatever, right? You got it to us. So now when a BOL is signed by a shipper from a shipping facility and a receiver at a receiving facility, it turns into a POD, proof of delivery. And this document is what is sent to the factoring company along with other documents in order for that carrier, if they're using or working with a factoring company, to get paid. Okay. Now, as a dispatcher, you don't have to understand that whole process, but that's literally what it is, right? Your carrier, when you book a load with a freight broker for your carrier, the broker is going to send you or the carrier, or both of you, what's called a rate sheet or a rate confirmation for that load. After you sign it and get it back to them and it's officially booked, then on the rate confirmation, and I can show you a picture of that, on the rate confirmation, it has the address, point of contacts, and everything of the shipping facility, as well as the address, point of contact, person to call of the receiving facility. It has to. How would the carrier know where to go to pick the freight up if they don't have an address, right? The rate confirmation shows that all that data. When they get to a shipping facility, that is where the broker and the shippers already had that conversation. The BOL would be waiting for them at the shipping facility. Once they get loaded, they get it's like a manifest. It shows the number of pallets, what the commodity is, how much it weighs, all the itemized things on the bill of lading, right? They sign off on it. Carrier transports it to the receiver. Receiver signs off on it after they offload the freight and check it in, and they accept the freight. Now it's a POD. So a BOL, bill of lading, turns into a POD, proof of delivery, when your carrier that you're dispatching for delivers it to the receiver. The POD, now let's circle back to the factoring company. The POD, the factoring company purchases those invoices because they're proof of delivery. And then they advance the carrier according to whatever agreement that Seven Oaks, this factoring company, or whatever factoring company has with them and that carrier. They purchase them in advance and go from there. So Monica, you take it from there.
Was answering the question about recourse and non-recourse. So Yeah, so instead of paying a high percentage to the broker for a quick pay, usually it's 3%, 4%, 5%, depending, and sometimes the quick pay is in 2 days. What we do is we receive the invoice from the carrier. If we receive it by 1 p.m. Central, that's our time. The 95% advance is in the carrier's bank account the next morning. So as a dispatcher, you will send all of the carrier's invoices to the factoring company so they can have their advance the next morning. Instead of trying to send invoices to all kinds of different brokers, trying to chase money around for each broker. This one offers quick pay, this one doesn't, this one pays in 30 days, this one in 45. So neither the dispatcher or the carrier need to be worried about collecting money because everything has been sent to the factoring company.
So let me stop you there. So what you're saying is you, the dispatcher, can help your carrier in such a way by consolidating all these receivables, all these PODs from different brokers into one, send it to one factoring company and let you guys advance the money to the carriers and let you guys worry about going after all the brokers for whatever monies that they have to pay. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So it's more convenience for the dispatcher and for the carrier to just send everything to one company at a 1% and then receive everything the next day. And we have factoring company partner with dispatchers, and what we offer as for dispatcher is also from the advance that the carrier will receive, we take care of paying the dispatcher fees. So you can have.
Wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. So that's a good point. So, because someone just asked, when does the dispatcher get paid? After delivery or after the carrier gets paid? So typically, if a carrier doesn't have a factoring company, let's do the worst case scenario. If a carrier does not have a factoring company, typically the dispatcher is paid once the carrier is paid. Carriers get paid one of three ways: directly from a customer through the load tenders, a brokered load, or a factoring company, right? Brokers have different payment options: quick pay, ACH, paper check. Okay. If the carrier does not have a factoring company, the dispatcher is kind of at the mercy of waiting for the carrier to get paid and then invoicing the carrier for their money, for their percentage or their flat fee, whatever they charge for their dispatching service. Now, what Monica just mentioned is if the carrier has a factoring company, the factoring company could not only advance the carrier, but they'll also pay the dispatcher in that relationship. So in other words, if, let's say, you brought your carrier to 7 Oaks, they never had factoring, they get set up for factoring. There may be an application process saying, okay, here's our application process, Mr. Carrier, to be a client of ours for the factoring company. Oh, by the way, do you happen to have a dispatcher? Yes. Yes or no? Check. Yes. What do they charge you as a percentage? 7%. Check. Okay. So now every invoice that comes in to 7 Oaks and Monica, when they pay that carrier the gross amount of that load, they're going to give that 7% to the dispatcher at the same time that they pay the carrier what they're supposed to pay the carrier. So now, guess what happens? That removes the worry by you, Mr. or Miss Dispatcher, of having to wait for a carrier to pay you. If they are working with a factoring company like 7 Oaks, that does it for you.
Correct. That's how we work. And so
Right.
it's so instead of paying through PayPal or Zelle or Venmo, whatever, it's just you get your dispatching fees taken care of from the carrier's advance, whether
Right.
the broker pays for the load or not. That's not, you did your job, so you get paid. But that
And
needs to be authorized by the carrier, though, because our
Correct.
agreement is with the carrier. Yes.
Right. So someone just asked, does 7 Oaks take a fee from the dispatcher side? Of course not. The client of 7 Oaks in this relationship, dispatcher, carrier, and 7 Oaks, is the carrier. The person who's becoming a client of 7 Oaks is the person who filled out the application, which is the motor carrier. Mm-hmm. You have a relationship with the motor carrier with your dispatcher agreement to provide a service for them for either a flat fee or a percentage. But when you get that carrier set up with, and I see your hand, Marty, I apologize, I'll get to you. when you get a relationship for your carrier with Seven Oaks, that is between Seven Oaks and your carrier. So the fees, Seven Oaks fees is coming out of the carrier side. No way, shape, or form is a dispatcher being charged by Seven Oaks to Factor.
And we don't charge, we send the dispatching fees, whatever 7% you charge, we send it through an ACH deposit. The dispatcher needs to have a company established, a W-9, and a business bank account in order for us to, so we cannot send checks or pay seller. We needs to be an ACH, but we send that for free. We don't charge any ACH fees to send the dispatching fees. So we just do it as a courtesy to make it easy for everybody.
So does Seven Oaks track what they pay to the dispatchers and the carriers in that relationship over a course of time, like a year, for accounting purposes and things like that?
Yes, there is a report we can print out of, we call it vendor pay. And the vendor is the dispatcher in that relationship. So we can print out a report of the vendor payments we've sent through the year.
And do you offer an affiliate relationship? Because I have one with you. So someone just asked, do you offer an affiliate relationship? So yes.
Yes, yeah. Our company has been established almost 26 years ago, and most of our client base is referrals. We just love to get friends to send their friends to work with us instead of going to the big company that they don't know how the service is going to be, or they don't have anybody, a friend there to help them out. So having referral clients help us always keep up with our customer service, because we don't want a friend complain to the other friend saying, you sent me to this company, you told me it was good, it was nothing. So through the years, we work through referrals. And now dispatchers have been, this couple of years since I started working with Charles, dispatchers have been a really nice partnership with Seven Oaks with us. So when you have a new carrier, mostly new carriers are the ones that need dispatching. The people that have been in business for a long time, they probably know already they don't need the help or they don't want it. But most of the time it's new carriers. The new carriers need dispatching and also need a factoring company so that we can get it all working for them easy, and they just have to be driving. That's what they want to do. They don't want to take care of paperwork. They don't want to chase money. They don't want to be, trying to find loads. That's what dispatchers and Seven Oaks as factoring company, we partner so the carrier can just be running.
So let me ask this question, Monica. Let me reverse it to you. And you may have to leverage it through me, and then I give it to the group. But the Seven Oaks, I know you have some carriers in there who are clients of yours, but who are having trouble with invoicing and bringing in loads and things like that. Do you have carriers in there that you believe, in your opinion, because they can't find enough loads and submit enough invoices or PODs, need dispatchers?
Yes. Lately, because of it's just transportation, sometimes goes ups and downs. So yeah, sometimes we have carriers that cannot find dispatchers. And usually is the hardest, the box trucks. That's unfortunately what I have. The box trucks, the vans, the ones that are harder to find loads. So
right. So what I was going to suggest is, if you come across carriers that need dispatchers who are of the equipment type 53-foot, the semis, the dry vans, the 53-foot dry vans, the flatbeds, and the refrigerator trailers, send them our way. Okay.
Yes.
That way, because now we are really working as a partnership back and forth. We're bringing clients to you. You're bringing carriers to us who are having a hard time finding loads, and they're going to connect to a large dispatching network with dispatchers who are trained to do it the right way.
Yes.
So now what happens in that situation? Everybody wins, right?
And that's the purpose of this partnership. And this is that's what we say, we call it a big family, because we all do different things, and our goal is to keep those carriers running. That's all of us. That's our goal.
Right. And I'm glad you said that. The goal is to keep the carriers running. The dispatchers play a part in that process if a carrier is willing to work with a dispatcher.
Yes. And there's the training, and then the sales ability, and how consistent you are with your work is what is going to give you the experience to to be able to work comfortably. And
Right.
but if you're not there yet, I know Charles can, you know, mentor each other and help each other out, and he's really good with support and resources and answering questions with patience.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Let me get to Marty. And I apologize, Marty. Your hand's been raised for a while. What is your question?
And I'm gonna go back to the affiliate program after these questions.
Okay. Okay. No problem. Marty, you had your hand raised for a while.
I was wondering, because I'm already starting to build business credit for my business, but I keep seeing trans credit. Is there a different system for the freight industry, or is it we still have to go through Dun & Bradstreet and Experian and Equifax?
So there's different types of credit bureaus on the personal side and on the business side. Okay.
Yeah, on the business side, there's Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, and Equifax.
Negative. On the personal side, it is TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. On the business side, you're going to see Dun & Bradstreet and Ansonia, 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 and then yeah, let me type it into the chat. Ansonia and TransCredit. Okay. And then, of course, Dun & Bradstreet, right? Most people know on the business side about Dun & Bradstreet. You may not have heard of it.
Like I've seen that the other day. Well, I've always known that I had to do business credit, but I saw someone posted an advertisement and somebody responded and said, well, and put a screenshot saying that, why would I do business with you? You don't have credit.
So who were you talking to? Was that a motor carrier? Or was that a freight
it was
broker?
a freight dispatcher who posted an advertisement they were advertising their services. And I think the motor carrier, like.
So let me ask you a question. Are you a dispatching company?
Yes, I'm starting with the dispatching first and then go to the broker side, but I have to build everything.
Right. So you're a dispatching company. The person you were talking to was a dispatching company?
No, they were owner operator.
They were owner operator. Okay. And they're asking you about, why would they be asking you about business credit as an owner operator when all you're wanting to initially provide for them is a dispatching
maybe
service?
They were a broker, because no, it wasn't me that did it. Actually, I saw that online. I was looking at someone posting their freight services.
Okay.
And I read in the comment, I saw someone took a screenshot. It appears to be like an owner operator, because they were talking about 3PLs. And he said, why would I choose your company if you don't have any credit? Please convince me that you will do the job. And
okay, let's go back. So I don't want to say business for a dispatching company, business credit is not important. It is, but downstream. So what would be the purpose of a dispatching company needing business credit? What are you trying to leverage that for? Are you trying to get a loan to scale your company?
Oh yes, I will get loan. I will get other things and maybe contracts. I don't know. I'm trying to apply for government certifications.
Okay.
And
so having business credit and applying for government certifications, it's like apples and oranges. Okay. I'm not saying that they're both fruit, right? But they are kind of like, so business credit is used for leverage, right? As far as scaling, as far as building, as far as getting brick and mortars and things like that. When you first start off as a dispatching company, you could be building your business credit in the background, right? But you want to take your time. You want to learn your craft first while indirectly working on your business credit, right? But so people are asking in the chat, why is business credit needed for dispatching? That's a good question.
I don't know why, but they told me, and there's a group of women in Florida that I go to. They're a bunch of truckers, and they go to we get together every Tuesday, and they talk about like if you need to get a SAM certification, and they say that you have to have credit in order for you to be competitive.
Okay, so that has nothing to do with dispatching. What they're talking about is the government sector. That is something completely different. So I want to make sure you're understanding, right? So you don't want to, I don't want you to get mixed up.
Okay.
So they're talking about government contracts where you register in SAMS, you get a you get a UEI, you get a cage number. A UEI is a 12 alphanumeric digit number. Cage code is a 6 alphanumeric digit number. Correct me if I'm wrong, LaDonna. Cage code is how you get paid, and Bridget's on here too. They're two different things. You're applying for government grants and funding and things like that. Also, you can apply for different types of certifications, right? MBE, DBE, SWAM, single veteran owned small businesses, different certification that adds weight to your application as far as because the government does what's called solicitations. They solicit for services so that people can bid on or get awarded or however that's structured. But that's a totally different aspect than dispatching. Now, if you are trying to get in government contracting as it relates to transportation, you would be better served to come in as a trucking company or a freight broker because you can leverage those skills and disciplines to go after the transportation related solicitations that the government put out there. Okay. But as far as business credit and dispatching, right. So, but I'm not saying not getting business credit is important because it is. At some point you want to scale, but if you are just starting out as a dispatching company, my suggestion to you is learn your craft first. Okay? Because and I hate to say it like this, but I don't want to sound like I'm telling you that you're wasting your time working on your business credit because you're not. But don't think that it's related to the dispatch.
It's a priority, but it's like I have a whole board. I'm like, it's like the last thing on the board.
Okay, all right. I'm glad you said that. So let's do this. If you are a dispatching company, vision board, learn my number one, learn my craft.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's the last thing on there, actually.
Right. Number two, get a motor carrier. Number three, find some loads for them. Number four, make some money.
Yes.
Right? Boom, 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 boom. Number 26, work on business credit. Right. And I hate to sound like that, like it's not important, but you want to target what's important right now for what you're doing, which is the craft that you are studying right now, which is dispatching.
Yes, I have a tendency to look at things like from a 360 view of things and then start attacking the most important, like, and prioritize.
Right. So, so what do you think, in your opinion, if you formed your dispatching business and you're looking to dispatch someone, what do you think is your first priority at this point?
I mean, I need money. So the first thing for me to get a customer and then get funding, grants, whatever I can get to keep me rolling until I master my craft.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. All right. But they're interrelated, but they're not, they're mutually exclusive of one another at this point. So I would say business credit is important, but I would say put the learning your craft and dispatching and getting a truck slightly above working on business credit. Or you can do it parallel to each other, but still focus on your drivers is making money.
Oh, no, that's the whole point. That's the whole point. I'm here.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. I'm glad you asked the question. Monica, you wanted to target back to the recourse and non-recourse, or you want to talk about that?
Actually, yes, I answered the non-recourse and recourse factoring. Seven Oaks Capital provides recourse factoring, and we've always done it, and we probably will not change it. Recourse means because a factoring agreement with a carrier is, and we give advances on their invoices, so the carrier owes the factoring company that money until the broker pays.
Right.
So the carrier is responsible. If the broker doesn't pay, we need to start getting some back from the carrier, and we do it little by little until that invoice is paid off. So every penny that gets out of the factoring company as an advance needs to come back.
So what recourse means is, let me break it down in layman's terms. I mean, I'm not saying you didn't, but
No,
recourse means that when you get in a contract with a carrier, they owe you the money because you gave them an advance already until the broker pays. If the broker doesn't pay the factoring company has no other recourse but to go after the carrier for the monies that they're trying to recoup.
yes,
Correct?
correct,
Right.
correct.
Okay.
And we do that on a payment plan, something that's not gonna hurt our client. You know, we
Right.
work together for that. When that happens, which is hardly ever.
Right. As
because we
opposed to
send the brokers.
non-recourse.
Yes,
right?
non-recourse, it's actually, some factoring companies use that term and offer that type of service. And first of all, they offer non-recourse, saying if the broker doesn't pay, the factoring company will not go after the carrier. They just assume the money and they take that, the loss. But non-recourse factoring is offered at a higher percentage, so it's more expensive. And that's the tricky part. And the other tricky part is non-recourse is offered, but then if you present a loan for billing a broker that they are not 100% sure that's gonna pay, they simply do not approve the invoice and do not factor it. So this little fine print that needs to be, the non-recourse always comes with a fine print. And it's basically the biggest factoring company that can afford to lose money as they want to, maybe offering the non-recourse. So, and the ones that have a yearly agreement, they lock you in. So those big companies sometimes offer that non-recourse. We really do not work under that term.
Okay. Very good, very good. Jacqueline, you have your hand raised.
Yes, excuse me, but I think she actually answered the question. My thought was, or my question was, as the dispatcher for the carrier, you go to the load board or wherever you go to find that broker to get that load for that carrier. And then they come back later and not want to pay the invoice. It seems to me that reflects on the dispatcher as well as the driver.
Negative.
Yeah.
It does not.
It doesn't affect
Because
you at all.
it doesn't affect the dispatcher because so let me give you a scenario on that situation. You are the dispatcher, I'm the carrier. You find me a load on the load board, you call the broker, you negotiated a good rate that included your percentage in the rate, and the broker agreed to it. Broker sees that you, the carrier, is not an approved carrier for that brokerage, so they get you set up with the brokerage. Broker carrier agreement, go through the process, get on what's called onboarded, right?
Okay.
You get approved, you send all the documents that the broker needs to approve that carrier, their MC authority, W-9, certificate of insurance, and if they have a factoring company, a credit application so that the factoring company can vet that brokerage. Let's say all of that stuff came back favorable. Everything was good. Now the broker is going to send over a rate confirmation of the rate that was agreed upon between you, the dispatcher, for your carrier. That gets signed, returned to the broker. Remember, it is a broker carrier agreement. Nowhere in there does it involve the dispatcher.
Okay.
So it's between the broker and the carrier. That's the agreement. That's what the carrier packet, the broker setup packet, all that stuff means. It's an agreement between the broker. You're just a dispatcher working on behalf of your carrier administratively, doing the paperwork and getting and booking loads for them. So carrier picks up the load, transports it safely, securely to the receiver for delivery. Broker, for whatever reason, reaches the contract by either paying beyond the payment terms of the broker or not paying at all, right? That is an argument between the carrier. What the carrier will do is file a claim for payment against the broker's bond to get payment. Or if they have a factoring company, they will leverage through the factoring company for that. Nowhere in that relationship is the dispatcher involved.
Okay.
Okay. So you do not have to worry about that in any way, shape, or form.
So so it sounds like you definitely want your carrier to have a factoring company or something like that in order to for them to get paid and for you to get paid.
that would be ideal if they are, especially if they are new. If they're a new carrier, that means they don't have any cash flow yet. They haven't built
Right.
up their cash flow reserves in order to sustain their company by paying for fuel and other things to keep them running, right? So ideally, for new carriers, it would be good to get a factoring company to help, keep them, push them along the way, right?
Right, but that's one of the services as a dispatcher that you can, or one of the things that you will want to talk to your carrier about if they don't have that. You
Certainly,
suggest
right. And because remember, this is everybody in here, all 43 of you guys, well, 42, I'm excluding myself, but and 41, and Monica, I'm excluding Monica too. 41 of you guys are your own companies. You structure your own companies how you see fit. If you can leverage a factoring company, offering a factoring company as a service to a carrier that you're talking to potentially dispatch for, who does not have a factoring company, then guess what? You should do that.
Right.
You want to leverage as much, you want to provide as much resources and leverage on your behalf towards the carriers in order to motivate them to come up under your dispatching services. And if you can say, I can present to you one of the best factoring companies in the country, and here's what they offer. Boom, 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 boom. And let me connect you with Monica over at Seven Oaks. I guarantee you'll get the best rate, right? And boom, 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 boom.
Well, that's the way I was thinking about it when you were presenting all the information. It's just that when they started talking about a broker not paying the invoice, I'm like, wait a minute, what does that do for
what? Wait a minute, brokers don't pay invoices? No. What? I've never heard of that.
Hopefully it doesn't happen as much as it sounds like it does, but yeah.
Well, sometimes brokers try to get out of that. So
if you allow me to add to that, Charles.
Yes, and then also too, before you start, Monica, I see your hand raised, iPhone, so I'll get you as well. Okay. Go ahead, Monica.
So any factoring company, not only Seven Oaks, you as a dispatcher for the carrier, you want to make sure the carrier gets paid. It's not your responsibility for him to get paid, because you're not the brokers. But as a dispatcher, you want to find them a broker that's not a fraudulent broker or some company that's doing double brokering. That is something kind of fairly new, and it's happening a lot. So it's Seven Oaks and a lot of factoring companies, you will ask them, hey, you send the MC number or the credit application, or usually we do it. If your carrier is already signed up with us, they get a portal where they can put the MC number of the broker and they can see it there, approved or not approved. So that way you vet the broker before even taking the load or anything. So
because that was my question, is that how do we know what the broker is going to do? We don't, renew it.
Well, usually load boards will have a rating, and that's a guidance for you, but you always want to, if they have a factoring company, that will check with the factoring company, make sure they are approved. And so we help with that to the dispatcher and the carriers. And also another advantage of partner with a factoring company or even offering the services as a value, added value to your services to the carrier is presenting a factoring company that is going to take care of them and it's going to make things easier for you and them. And also when you bring a carrier to work with Seven Oaks Capital, we start factoring their invoices, we start collecting our 2% fee. From that 2% fee, we share 10% of that with you, the dispatcher, as a referral commission. That stays with you for the time that carriers moves loads and factors loads with Seven Oaks. So it's not a one-time commission. It's not $100. It's just the more loads you find for them, the more they move, the more factoring fees we earn, the more commission you get. You start with one carrier, you can add a second one, a third one. So, and that it's, I don't know who else does this. I'm sure there's other factoring companies that offer referral commissions. I'm just one that is not going to just sell the product. I'm going to guide the carrier and the dispatchers holding their hands until they get it all figured out. So
that's good. That's good information. That's good to know.
And I can, you send me your email or something, I'll put my contact information there. So you can have, all I need is an email address with the carrier's MC number, name, phone number. We get them to contact them. We offer the services, we get them approved, we sign our agreement, and we let you know what's going on with the application, so you know the state of it until it's all done. And then you're ready, the carrier's ready to go with the factoring company, and we all start to get working together, you know.
Great, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So next is iPhone. And then I saw a few questions in the chat I'm gonna review. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, the factoring company that what she was mentioning before about the factoring company, about the referral commission, I wanted to know the name of that company. And another thing is, I wanted some advice from you, because I'm working a job to support myself now, but I'm trying to make a smooth transition into the industry. But I didn't know if I should work as a dispatcher for a company or just go straight independent. Like, what would you recommend?
So time is going to play a factor in that decision. You know, are you and the hours of the day that you're working for that company? Let's say you work at a third shift job, 11 to 7, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Then you have the daytime to be able to commit 6 to 8 hours. So, and also your expenses, your overhead that you have currently, rent, mortgage, other bills, and things like that. So these are things that you have to consider. If a dispatching company is willing to hire you to work with them to dispatch tractor trailers, semi trucks, whether it's internally, right, where you're dispatching the customers of that trucking company, their trucks, so you can kind of see the paperwork and the processes. That would be ideal for you to get that experience, right? Before you decide to transition into your own independence, right? That is the utopian best case scenario for you, right? If that does not happen, then you can just consider, again, you got to think about your expenses and your overhead. Doing it yourself, like working your job and then dedicating a few hours a day or some quiet time to yourself, at least studying the craft until you're ready to transition. I never tell people to cold turkey leave their job, was paying their bills, to get into dispatching without having something backed behind them. When I got into dispatching, my wife and I had a conversation about 6-7 years ago. We gathered our expenses, at the time, our rent, and our other expenses, and it totaled, I think it was $2,000 a month. And I said, well, let's do it for 6 months. We had about enough to do that. So 12 grand. So we put 12 grand aside now you may or may not be in this situation. We put 12 grand aside for me to leave my job and go strictly into dispatching, right, for 6 months. And the expenses were covered. Now she was still working, of course, but I'm saying my to help out in the house. Anyway, it took me half that time to get to the point where I was making the same amount of money or more dispatching compared to my job, my 9 to 5. That's if you can do that as well, then that'd be ideal. Most days people may not have that amount of money saved up. So you may have to gradually transition from your 9 to 5 into the dispatching sector or whatever sector, trucking, freight broker, or what have you, right? But you want to think that through. You never want to leave what's feeding your family for something that's not, although it will eventually. But if you do it that way, cold turkey, guess what? You're going to have to hump. You're going to have to work. You see what I'm saying? So where are you mentally in that process when you're thinking about that? You have to decide what your angle is going to be. All right?
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you for your help. But like the factoring company that she was mentioning, the referral commissions, what is the name of it? Can I get the name of it?
Oh yeah, I pasted it's hers, 7 Oaks. It's called 7 Oaks. I pasted her information to your iPhone. You're up here twice, unless there's 2 iPhones up here. But that's identified. Okay. There's 2 people that's call themselves iPhone, so I'll just paste it to both of them. So if I don't get you, I got someone else. So whoever, whoever the other iPhone person is, you're gonna get something pasted to you that you may not have asked for. So, okay. Ash have their hands raised. Ash.
Hey Charles, how's it going?
Hey, there you go. Okay.
All right. So I already asked a question in the chat
Okay.
a few times, but I don't know if we're going into dispatching today, but we're kind of like going over the overview of it. So what I asked was, well, I have two questions really.
Okay.
You know, how easy it is to get loads. Well, I kind of know it's not easy, but I know the process of getting loads. But how
Okay.
easy is it to get loads and be consistent as a dispatcher? For example, let's say I get one carrier, I get, I hit the load board and I get them, a load. How easy is it to be consistent?
Okay. Great question. So it becomes easier depending upon the equipment type of that carrier. Remember, in our trainings, we train about, we try to advise you to focus on, and this what makes your dispatching journey easier, because we're telling you based off of our experience. Focus on the semis, the three semis, the major ones. What are the three major semis that we tell you to focus on? The dry van, the 53-foot dry van, the 53-foot. And matter of fact, I can show you. Let's go to module 1. That we call them the three major equipment types, right? 53-foot dry vans, the 53-foot reefers or refrigerated trailers, looks similar to the dry van, but it has the refrigeration unit on the front of it. And then the third one is the flatbed, 48 or 53-foot flatbeds. The reason why we say start off and target those first, now there are others too, the specialized equipment types, but we don't tell you to start them out, but we still show you and identify what they are. But the reason why we tell you the three major ones is because they're out here on the roads the most. You can find loads for them on the load boards the easiest, and they pay the better rates. Finding loads for them on the load boards is easier, it's less of a challenge than the other ones. And keeping them running consistently in areas of the country that has a high volume of inbound and outbound freight for those equipment types. That is the art and the science of dispatching, to keep that truck running consistently. First, in that art and science concept, you choose the right equipment types that's moving the most. Well, we try to beat that in your head every week or every other week. It's the dry vans, flatbeds, and reefers. Okay, so once you get that in your mind, now you find loads for them on the load board. So now you have to learn where to look for in this country in what's called zones, right? There are 5 zones in this country. A zone is made up of multiple states in the zone. The Midwest zone contains the Midwest states. What are the Midwest states? Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, yada, 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 Minnesota, Illinois, right? The Southeast zone, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, so on and so forth. The Northeast zone, New York, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maine, so on and so forth, right? So the Southwest zone, the biggest state is Texas. And in the West zone, the biggest state is California. So then you say, okay, for my equipment type, let's say a dry van, which zones can I keep that truck running into and out of consistently that has freight that's paying at least a decent amount of money so my carrier can gross in this day and age, because right now the rates are kind of down. So let's say in this day and age, they can gross $6,000 to $8,000 a week. So now you get that, you start to learn that science and that art of dispatching. You have to first start from the beginning, choose the right equipment type, understand what zones in the country to go in, how to keep them running consistently. Well, choose the right equipment type, find loads for them on the load boards. Then you got to deal with the brokers, have those conversations, things like that, right? We go over that stuff as well, right? Understand what zones are and the states thereof, and then find out what resources we have in our portal. And we go over that too. We have 1,000 videos in here that goes over that, right? Of the high volume of inbound and outbound freight. Let me show you what I mean, because by me saying it does you no good, right? So I would prefer to show you. And I thought I had access to it over here, but let me see. 1, 2, 3 load board. Okay. And 1, 2, 3 load board. And this is a load board that we have a promotional. It's not one of the load boards we offer, but it's in our back office where we have a partnership where we offer a promotional thing for us. So let me check my login for this real quick just to verify that it's all good. Okay. And 1, 2, 3 load board. And it's not in there. Okay. Well, anyway. So in 1, 2, 3 load board, it has what's called load availability. Okay. So for those of you who've see this software for the very first time, this is what's called a load board. This is the area or the software that you would go to primarily to find loads, freight, cargo to book through a freight broker for your carrier with whom you are dispatching for. This is a popular one. This is one of the top 3. The top 3 load boards are DAT, D-A-T, which stands for Dial a Truck, Dial a Truck, DAT. There are different versions of DAT. DAT Pro, DAT Power, DAT Express, DAT Trucker's Edge, so on and so forth. That's number 1. Second of the top 3 is called Truck Stop. Used to be called Internet Truck Stop. That's number 2. They have different versions of Truck Stop or Internet Truck Stop. Basic and Pro. And then the third one, which is what you're looking at on the screen, is called 1, 2, 3 load board. The person that you see in the front, his name is Lauren Metzen. I actually did a YouTube video with him and his 2 developers, and we got into a partnership where you can purchase a subscription through our affiliate link to his load board without you being required to have an MC number, because you are a dispatcher. He's partnered with dispatch because he said, well, I see a lot of dispatchers asking for load board access. Well, let me partner with a company. Well, Exodus has a large contingency of dispatchers. So it would make economic sense to me, says Lauren, to open up access to you guys, dispatchers, to purchase a subscription to my load board without being required to have an MC number. Why? Because dispatchers don't have MC numbers, but dispatchers still need access to load boards. So as a business-minded person, Lauren said, well, I can still make money by giving you guys a subscription and just give you a carrier level version of it without having to have access to a load board. Thus, the partnership with Exodus for 1, 2, 3 load board through our affiliate link, so that you can, right here, affiliate link, so that you can access 1, 2, 3 load board without having a MC number. And you get the first 30 days instead of 10, typically for everybody else, you get the first 30 days for free before you decide to purchase a subscription still without having a MC number. Right? But anyway, let's go back to the load board. We were talking about zones and inbound and outbound freight. I'm going to show you, give you something here. On here, it says load availability. Okay. Now you have a density map version of it, and then you have a density list version of it, right? So I'm going to density list. If you notice here, it's grouped in alphabetical order by the states. AL, Alabama, AK, Alaska, AZ, Arizona, AR, Arkansas, right? What it shows for each state is the volume of outbound, intrastate, and inbound loads for that particular state. Outbound means loads coming out of that particular state, in this example, Alabama. So there are 2,035 loads across all major equipment types, dry van, flatbed, reefer, and even some of the specialties, box trucks, hot shots, sprinter vans, cargo vans, coming out of the state of Alabama. There are 211 intrastate loads. What does intrastate mean? Intrastate means loads moving within that particular state. Doesn't go out of the state. It's intrastate. It's not interstate. Doesn't cross state lines. It stays within the boundaries of that state. Okay. And then there are 610 loads coming into Alabama from all points elsewhere. That's how you read this per each state, right? I'm in Virginia. So I'm going to scroll down. Obviously, this is alphabetical order. So right there. So if I had a dry van in Virginia, all you need is one load for your carrier, right? Some states have a low volume of inbound and outbound freight, right? So you want to stay away from like South. I'm not sending nobody, no way, shape, and form to South Dakota. Because look, 82, 5, and 167. As a dispatcher, you want to strategize how you want to move your carrier. Send them to area. Matter of fact, let's do a map version of that. Let's go back to the map right here so we can get a better idea of I like visuals, right? If you notice that it's color coded, right? And if you hover your mouse over each one, it shows the numbers for it, okay? Green means it's high volume. Amber means it's or orange, amber, rust, brown, whatever you want to call it, means it's medium loads. And then red means it's low. So look, as a dispatcher, if you have access to this resource, guess what you're going to do? Not send your carriers to the red states. Why? Because you're going to have a hard trouble getting them out of there. And they're going to be sitting for days at a time, angry at you because you sent them there. Just because you see a good paying load going to the state, you still have to consider getting them out of there. And guess what's going to happen? They're going to sit there for days. So that good paying load sending them there is only going to be offset by them having to deadhead out of there and paying for the fuel to get them out of there. So essentially, they didn't make any money. And you didn't understand dispatching completely, right? So if you had access to a resource like this, you can literally see in real time where to send your carriers to whatever the equipment type they have. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep them running in the Midwest, the Southeast, and the Southwest, particularly Texas, back and forth, over and over again. Also, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to do like a triangular thing. I might run them out of Ohio, down to South Carolina or Georgia, over to Texas, back up to Indiana, back down to North Carolina, over to Louisiana, like a triangular thing, over and over again. Guess what else I'm doing? I'm building relationships with the same brokers that I'm running them with. Guess what else I'm going to do? Let's say that was a dry van. Guess what else I'm going to do? I'm going to get another carrier of the same equipment type, dry van, put them in the same lane that first carrier was running, Ohio, Georgia, Texas, and scale my company. Guess what else I'm going to do after 3 or 4 months? Get another carrier of the same equipment type. Guess what I'm doing? I'm growing, and I'm doing the broker a favor because I'm providing them trucks or providing them capacity. I'm giving them good drivers because I'm putting those drivers in those brokers' good lanes that's paying good rates. That's how you dispatch. Okay? You have to understand what you're doing first before you do it. Right? You have to understand what it look, how to do it. You have resources back here to kind of help you along the way. Right? I'm not sending nobody to Colorado, Utah, Nevada, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Nebraska, Kansas. I don't care what it's paying. Because I don't have, unless the broker says, look, this is a round trip load, it's paying $8,000. Okay, I'll grab that one. Coming out of Florida, going over to Colorado, and then coming back for $8,000, because I know my guy's going to go up there, get in there, get something, and get out. But if it's not, if it's just a one trip, one lane, a line haul, what's called a line haul, just and nothing's coming out of there, there's no reload or what's called a back haul, I'm not entertaining it because I don't want my carrier, I don't want to lose my carrier. The worst thing you can do as a dispatcher is do a disservice to your carrier. Okay? A disservice. Before I move on, let me go ahead, Ash. I know you had your hand raised up for a while.
All right. So what I was going to ask following that, so when you were to, from listening over to what you were saying, so would you book a load when you book a load? Let's say it's from Michigan to, let's say, I don't know, Tennessee. At the same time as you book that load, would you right away go ahead and flip it and look for something from out of Tennessee to somewhere else?
That's correct. You bet your bottom dollar you would. Look, this is what I would do. There's multiple ways to do that. You book the load, let's say from Michigan to Tennessee.
Right.
If that broker, when you book it with that same broker, one of the first things you should ask that broker, say, hey, we got this load coming out of Michigan going to Tennessee. Do you have something coming out of Tennessee going elsewhere? Start with the same broker. Start with the same broker you booked the load with. Because guess what? He or she may have something coming out of there going to, say, Georgia over to Texas. Guess what's going to happen? Since you already booked the first load with that broker, that means your carrier is already set up in their system already. They're already an approved carrier. So guess what? You don't have to go through the process again of going through a broker carrier agreement with another broker, yada, yada, yada. You just cut your workload in half. All you got to do now is negotiate a rate, sign a rate confirmation, and send it over to the same broker and keep it moving, right? So another question you guys may ask, well, what's the time period from booking that first load? How long do I have to wait before I book the next load? And so on and so forth, right? If you're new starting out, you booked the one load with the broker, it picks up in Michigan today. Today is Wednesday. It don't deliver to Tennessee till Friday, right? While that driver is driving from Wednesday, Thursday to Friday to deliver, I'm looking for a load at least all day Thursday, finding their next load. So by the time they get there on Friday, I got them a load for the weekend coming out of there, going somewhere else. You see? But that's how you want to attack dispatching strategically. Okay? By understanding where to look, how to look, who to talk to, how to talk to them, and things like that. It starts with you and your carrier. You have to build that relationship first. It has to be a trust relationship. It has to be one that's communicative between two. Communication is what? It's a two-way street. It's not one way. It's a two-way street. If your carrier trusts you and you trust your carrier, you guys are communicating, you're sharing with them the details of a load so that they can decide whether to take the load or not. You're calling on them and checking on, hey man, I know you're under this load. Are you okay? Everything's good. No blowouts, no flat tires. You good? Yeah. I'm still due to be on time and things like that. Check with them every now and then. Don't bug them, right? But check with them. You know, build the rapport over time. Guess what's going to happen there? They're going to tell the next carrier at a truck stop somewhere where they're having a conversation over a cup of coffee with another trucker, man, and this other trucker, damn, I hate my dispatcher, man. He sent me over here. I've been here 5 days. Your carrier, what? 5 days, man? I'm gonna be out of here in about 2 hours. Who's your dispatcher? Ash, Jacqueline, Terrence, and then boom, word of mouth. Guess what's gonna happen? They're coming at you. Relationships, communicate. See what I'm saying? Learn your craft. Learn your craft. That's priority number one. My job as an instructor is to help you do that by pouring the resources to you, the information, and how to put all the pieces together. That is my job. Your job is to grab that and activate it, utilize it, and put it into play, right? There's so much resources back here that I literally forgot stuff back here, right? I'll come up on, I'm like, man, that's still back here? Let's use this, right? So, Ash, you got your hand raised again.
Sorry, I have too many questions.
That's okay. Questions help everyone else.
Right. So now going back like one step back. When is the best time you think, or best, what, all right, sir, let me phrase this again correctly. What's the best time and the best days to go to truck stops to market yourself as a dispatcher?
Okay, so in whatever time zone you live in, I would say during daylight hours, Monday through Friday during daylight hours. Over the weekend, it's kind of give or take because truckers are moving in and out of there, right? Some truckers are there for their resets and things like that. But during daylight hours, it's pretty efficient. 9 or 10 to about 5 or 6 when it starts to get dark, depending on what time zone you're in, Eastern, Central, Mountain, Pacific, right? Because there are different time zones, the daylight changes and it gets darker sooner in certain time zones before others, things like that. As a woman, never go alone nor at night, okay? So you want to go with your partner, your significant other, husband, boyfriend, what have you, and never go alone. I don't recommend that. So I see your hand, iPhone. So yeah, never go alone. And when you do go, oh, someone gave me this good idea. Hopefully he or she, I think it was a woman, is in this training. And I never thought of this, and it makes perfect sense. When you go to truck stops, take a goodie bag with you. Who gave me that? Is that person in here tonight? I was on the phone with them earlier this week. and I say, I'm gonna mention that. And I'm glad you brought that up, as about the truck stop. Take a goodie bag with you along with your paperwork with you as a dispatcher. This is a great idea. And I'm surprised I'm still in this. Whoever you are, if you're not here, I'm still in it. If you're here, I'm still in it. Take a goodie bag with you to the truck stop. What's a goodie bag? Like little trinkets you can give to the carrier as you talk to them. Like little snacks, little things that they may need, some Slim Jim, little things that they can use, along with your dispatcher packet when you talk to them, to leave with them. Whether they sign it or not, you still leave it with them, right? What is your dispatcher packet? Your dispatcher agreement is 3 documents that we advise. Your dispatcher agreement, your carrier profile, and your limited power of attorney. You have that in a little folder, and then you have a little goodie bag with some snacks in there, maybe some fruit, maybe some snacks, candies, sodas, water, Gatorade, a goodie bag. You know what a goodie bag is. And then you perceive what you think your carrier might, or a truck driver will need when they're sleeping in their trucks at a truck stop for 10 hours. A goodie bag, right? So you guys come up with your own version of a goodie bag. But that's a good idea though. So, iPhone, that's what I was trying to remember. You had your hand raised. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, like everything you was breaking down, I was trying to consider the hours of service and put it into that equation.
You definitely want to have hours of service in the equation. As far as what, booking the loads for the carriers?
Yeah, so like, however I book the loads and everything, I want to consider like the hours, like, cause what I could really recollect is 11 hours, no more than 11 hours, right? In one day.
So let's remove the mystery of it and go to our tools and resources and go to our hours of service. Because are you enrolled iPhone or not?
Yes, I'm enrolled.
Okay, so under tools and resources, we'll go back under our tools and resources area in our back office, right? Under tools and resources button, we click that, and in here, all these tools and resources, PDFs and stuff, one of which is hours of service right here, okay? Click that, and it takes you to the hours of service page. Every driver, let's go down to the property drivers right here, property carrying drivers. And you can read and study this section right here to understand. You don't have to memorize this because it doesn't apply to you, but as a dispatcher, it's helpful to at least understand it, right? Mm. But what's even better, when you are booking loads over time with the same carrier over time, all you have to do is ask them, hey, I'm about to book your next load. Do you have enough hours to get this load too? And they'll tell you yes or no. Yeah, I got enough hours, or no, book it the next day. I got to do my 10-hour reset. I'm not gonna have enough hours to pick the load up. Let's get it. Let's try to see if that broker will move it to the next day. Or yes, I can pick it up. I got plenty of hours. I'll be okay. But as far as the numbers, truckers can be on duty for 14 hours in a day. There's 24 hours in a day, 14 of which the drivers can be on duty. The other 10, they got to do a reset for that cycle for that day. In the 14 hours on duty, 11 of which in the 14, they can drive straight. Or they can drive, right? And it breaks all this down. They have different hour cycles, 60 hours in 7 days, 70 hours in 8 days. What does that mean? There's no such thing as 8 days. There is 8 days straight, right? I know there's only a 7-day week that we're programmed to think, right? Sunday through Saturday or whatever. But 60 hours in 7 days refers to a driver works less than 7 days a week. 70 hours in 8 days if the driver works 7 straight days in the week, 7 days a week, okay? And then it breaks down, and then you have to do a 34-hour reset to reset whatever cycle you selected, the driver, 60 or 70, 60 and 7 or 70 and 8. They have to reset that 34-hour reset to reset the hours, cycle it back up to 0 so they can start their hour clock again, right? And that's a 34-hour reset. That's a day and 10 hours. Right? So that's what 34 is, a day and 10 hours, right? And it restarts their 60 or 70-hour cycle. So read this, sir, and anyone else to get an understanding of that. So you at least have it'll help you leverage the relationship with your driver if you understand some of the aspects of what they do, right? Another thing that can help you with the relationship with the driver by understanding some of the aspects of what they do is how to calculate fuel costs for them, or understanding how they pay for fuel, understanding how many miles per gallon to the truck, divide that into the number of miles on a particular trip, times the gallons, miles per gallon for diesel. That's how much they're going to pay for the fuel for that particular load. And then you deduct that from what the load is paying on the load board, and now you can really see what they're going to make after they take out for fuel. Right? So little things, right? Just little things. And so learn your craft, right? We're always circling back to learning your craft. Learn your craft. If you're going to be in this space, why not learn as much as you can to leverage the knowledge to assist the person that you're going to be working with, partnering with. When you get under a dispatcher agreement with your carrier, that is a partnership, right? It's contractual because you got a dispatcher agreement, it's a contract, but I look at it as a partnership, a relationship, because you are helping them feed their family while you are feeding yours, right? What up, though, Eugene?
Hey, what's up, Charles?
Yes, sir.
Hey, question about that reset. What about dual drivers? Are they to reset when you have dual drivers?
Same thing. It's just twice. It's they'll do what they'll slip seat. They'll one get out the seat, the other one jump in it. Slip seating, back and forth. It just got two drivers. You just double the time. So in 24 hours, so you can get across the country quicker with two drivers. A team was called teams.
So if there's 14 hours on duty, but 11 hours of driving, two drivers drive switching back and forth, that's 22 hours, right? Would they have
That's
to
correct.
sit? Would they have to sit 2 hours out?
I don't know about that part. LaDonna could probably help me on that because she's a team driver, her and her husband.
Oh,
How does that work,
okay.
LaDonna? She says not really. So while one is, so if LaDonna's asleep, or if I'm asleep with my team driver partner, I'm doing my 10-hour reset. The other person is driving their 11 hours. So during their 11 hours, 10 of my hours are I'm sleeping in the way or resting or doing whatever, watching TV or researching or whatever. So she says the clock never stops.
Okay, that does make sense now that you put it that way. Yeah, that does. So if you 10 hours, I totally get it. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah. Okay. No problem. We're cruising along here. Let's do a few more questions because it's almost time to get off. But let me log out of here. Great questions, by the way. Monica, thank you once again. Monica's here, our representative from Seven Oaks Factoring, and she broke down some information for us, very thorough, very much appreciative of that. Ash, got your hand raised again. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep going.
Ash, you win the award for most questions asked tonight.
Hey, I mean, I did that on Sunday too. I felt like, but
yeah. Go ahead.
What I wanted to ask was, if you wanted to, like, if your goal was, would you go by a monetary value, or would you go by like a carrier amount? Like, for example, if my goal was like, I want to do $300 today, would you stay with the $300, or would you be like, all right, $300 is like two carriers or one carrier? How would you go about that?
You mean you as a dispatcher and how much you want to make per day?
Yeah.
That's an interesting point. Me, when I was doing it, I wasn't even thinking about it like that. I was just making sure that I was finding loads for my carrier and whatever percentage or flat fee for the week. So if I'm charging a flat fee, I'm charging a flat fee at the end of the week for the accumulation of loads that I got for that driver during that week, the flat fee side. If I do the percentage range, which is between 5 and 10%, then I'm charging that percentage per each load that I'm booking for them in that week, or in however I invoice the person, the driver that I'm dispatching for, in a week cycle, 2-week cycle, monthly, however I do it. Some dispatchers invoice dispatchers percentage-wise after every load. They'll send them an invoice. I started off doing that, but then I said, nah, let me do it. Let me accumulate it at the end of the week. Then I would send them one big invoice for that amount, the percentage. I would tally up the rates of each. Let's say I booked 3 loads that week. One load was 2,000, one was 3,000, one was 4,000. That totaled 9,000 for the week. I charged 7%. 7% of 9,000 is $630. So I would invoice them on Friday for $630, which covered booking loads, those 3 loads. I grossed them 9,000 for that week. I charged 7% of that 9,000 gross, and that's $630 because 9 times 7 is 63. So that's how I used. Starting off, I learned the hard way to invoice them after every load. It's like I'm almost like a bank or a pimp. I feel like I was pimping them. Like, look, let me get this money. Every time I booked the load, I would send an invoice out, right? But then I thought about it. I said, let me prove. And it does 2 things, right? It gets off their back, and then it proves your worth to them because you're building up loads during that week, and then you're invoicing them at the end of the week for those loads you got them, and you show them that you met the goal that you and that person agreed to. You say, I can gross you $6,000 to $8,000. I got you 9 this week.
Right.
Right. So stuff like that.
Like for one carrier, how many loads can you do in a week? Do you think? Or is it
great
variable?
question. It's variable because it depends on the distance and where they're driving. Right. Minimal, I would say 3 if you're doing, I don't know.
Is that
so many
3
miles
back and forth or just 3?
No, 3 line hauls. A reload and the back haul is considered another load.
Right.
Right. So
3 line
if you
hauls,
book,
gotcha.
well, 1 line haul, and then the next line haul could be the back haul of the first line haul. What do I mean by that? Here, so if I book a load, I'm in Norfolk, Virginia, Chesapeake area, Hampton Roads, right? I book a load going down to Atlanta, Georgia, right? That doesn't take long to get there. Norfolk to Atlanta is about not even 600 miles, about 5 and some change, right? That's a day. For a driver, they can run that in a day. But let's say it took a day and a half. Let's say they picked it up late. Let's say they picked it up late morning to early afternoon on the pickup day. So they delivered it later that night or early that next morning, like 3 or 4 a.m. to a 24-hour shipper, 24-hour, a first come, first serve pickup location shipper, first come, first serve delivery location to receiver in those times. So then I grab another load coming out of Atlanta, going over to Houston. That's going to take about comfortably 2 days, day and a half, 2 days, right? And then the big load, and now that's, so 1 day, then 2 days, so that's 3 so far. We're still in the week. Then coming out of Houston, going up to, like, let's say Ohio somewhere or somewhere in the Midwest. So that's another 2-day run. So that's 5 days, right? And then I pick something up out of Ohio, come back down to Virginia. So that's 4 loads. That's another day and a half. So that's like 6.5, 7 days. So that's a full week right there. So you did 4 loads in a week. Each of those loads, because of the distance, may have averaged about $2,000. Let's say $2,000. Some of it higher, some of it lower. But let's say average 2,000. 2,000 times 4, that's 8,000 in a week. Let's say you charge 10% for doing that. So now you just made $800 for that week for that one driver. Let's say you got 3 drivers doing that. 3 times 800 gross, $2,400 a week for you, 3 drivers. Will you be comfortable grossing $2,400 in a week, dispatching only 3 drivers in that type of scenario relationship? I would say so, right? Now, ideally, would it always be like that? Of course not. Let's be realistic, right? The one thing I don't want to do is sugarcoat anything, right? Let's be realistic. Some loads may fluctuate. Some lanes may not pay as much like that. Some lanes may not be as ideal like that, right? You may realistically gross, I don't know, 5,000 to 7,000 a week for that driver, and then you have 3 at 10%, and then you have 3 drivers. So you may make a little less. You're still making decent money as you're working from home on a phone in your time, your freedom, and everything like that, right? You mean tell me that you won't be comfortable with grossing between $1,500 to $2,100? That's $5,000 to $7,000 at 10%, $1,500 to $2,100 a week, dispatching 3 trucks consistently, same equipment types in those lanes, starting out as a dispatcher, 3 trucks. Let's say you scale up to 5 by yourself. right? So let me do these last two questions so we can get off. Vanessa
Yes,
Holloway, and then, yes. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm okay. How can we help you?
Wonderful. And, well, you were speaking about on the 1, 2, 3 load board, looking at the zones on the density maps as far as load availability is concerned. Can we
Yes,
do
ma'am.
a real-time example?
We could if
If we've got
they're, you mean
time?
like calling? Yeah, calling someone, you mean? With a
Not
carrier and stuff like that?
necessarily. Well, I've got a carrier that I'm working with, and I've dispatched my
Okay.
carrier today from Mechanicsville, Virginia to well, he's going to end up tomorrow in Nicholasville, Kentucky, right? So you mentioned
Okay.
working in a triangular motion. So if I've got this driver in Louisville, Kentucky, he wants to pull no more than 40,000 pounds per load.
What equipment type is he?
53-foot dry van.
Okay, and he's over the road. He's an OTR driver. He likes to drive over the road.
He is an over-the-road driver. He likes being in the Midwest, Southeast, and Southwest.
Great. I'm glad you said that because that was my next question. Where does he like to run? So what I'm doing is bringing the density map back up. Let me enlarge it. Okay. So you say he's from Mechanicsburg, Virginia to where?
He is going from Mechanicsville, Virginia to Nicholasville, Kentucky.
So not very far.
Not very far.
Not even 400, about 400 miles or less, 500 maybe.
Right, and he likes to
Okay.
drive no more than 600 miles at a time, if you will, because, you know, of the market right now.
So where are you finding loads coming out of Mechanicsville, Kentucky going? And you want to keep him in the green area, like maybe up to Ohio, maybe down. You might want to keep him down more like in the Georgia, Alabama, North, South Carolina area. Don't send him to Florida.
I will not send him to Florida. I'm actually a driver as well, and I teamed with him over the summer, and we got stuck in Florida. So I won't ever do that ever again.
Okay, so you already know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So coming into Florida now. Why do we say that? Why do people hear that all the time? Don't go to Florida. Don't go to Florida. So if some loads pay well going, right? Some loads pay well going into Florida, but I don't know for you, all you older heads. But remember that Roach commercial called the Roach Motel? You can check in, but you can't check out, right? So you can check into Florida, but you can't check out in some cases, right? So as far as getting good paying freight, you would have to bounce from city to city, working your way north to come out of there, right? Now Rodney has a system. Rodney says, I'll keep you busy in Florida. Rodney, can you get us out of Florida? You can keep us running in Florida. Can you unmute yourself, Rodney?
Yo. Can you hear me?
What's up? Yes.
What's up?
What's up, man? Long time.
I mean, intrastate is easy, is pretty good in Florida, right? I wouldn't say easy. It's got a little system, but I do see quite a bit of loads like that'll get you maybe from Jacksonville to over to Georgia, right? So it's not super hard, but it depending on where you're at, if you're going into Florida and you're going further south into Florida, let's say like you're taking a load to Miami or something.
Real south.
Yeah, getting from Miami to Jacksonville is hard. Like getting from south back up to northern Florida is hard. You'll get like let's say going from Jacksonville to Miami, you'll get like $3, $4 a mile, right? But to get from Miami to Jacksonville, it is like $2 a mile. The closer you get to the border of between Florida, Georgia, Alabama, the closer you get, the lower the rate is. But once you get there, to get into Alabama, to get into Georgia is pretty simple, right? But you have to take that hit to get from South Florida to North Florida. You have to take that hit, right?
So are you referring to only the semis, the three major equipment types, dry van, reefer, and flatbeds?
Sorry, I should have started with that. I work with a flatbed in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like there's a port. It's Cape Canaveral that's out there. that's a little closer to Jacksonville, right? So if you can get from Miami to Cape or something like that, then
Yeah, Cape
it won't-
Canaveral, Cape Canaveral, yeah.
Cape Canaveral, yeah. It won't be as big of a hit to get from Cape to Jacksonville, right? But it's weird. It's like a vacuum. You know, you get into South Florida, it's cool. That's easy, right? But getting out of North Florida, it's like you're fighting against the current. The current wants to pull you back down towards South Florida because
Right.
It does get difficult. But
So what we could do is then refer to you if a driver happens to be a flatbed and equipment type and running into Florida. We can say, "Hey, Rodney, what do you see over there?" And then you can kind of leverage with the person and say, "Okay, yeah, you may want to talk to this broker or grab this load here to kind of maneuver in."
that'd be outstanding. That'd be great. It's, I mean, you with anybody, like everybody that's just starting out, you know, at first it's a lot of phone calls, it's a lot of relationship building, but once you've done a few loads, once you've kind of established even yourself as a dispatcher, because you're the one making the phone calls, the brokers are sending you the loads, right? Like a lot of times I'll get loads maybe like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, some even like an hour before they're posted on the load board, right? To kind of like get you a pick of the litter, and then you know, if you can't help them out, then an hour in the transport is an eternity, right? In the transportation industry. So most of the time it'll be like 15 minutes. And then if I say no, or I imagine the masses say no, then you'll see it on the load board 15 minutes later.
Correct. Okay, so I'm gonna keep you in mind as far as referencing. And I remember you told me that before. So
Florida, that's on the other side of the country for me, but that's my state. You know, that's where I got in good. So, you know, you never know. You never know who and where you're gonna get them.
Right. Okay. Ash, thanks, Rodney. Ash, you got your hand raised. This'll be the last question.
I actually forgot the question I was going to ask. Hopefully I think about it. If I think about it again, I might shoot you a text, or I don't know, maybe next webinar.
Okay, no problem. No problem. It's 8:02, guys. We reached our training time limit. I'm gonna save the chat. Type in 1 in the chat if you guys think that this training was okay. If it was good training for you guys. 1 in the chat if you learned something. And even though we bounced around, it was basically the Q&A, so we touched different points. Monica, if she's still here, she is a gem. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
There she is. Yes.
I will try to catch more training sessions. I love to hear from everybody and answer any questions, and always love to gain some more knowledge from all that you share. Every time
I appreciate you.
I learn something new. Thank you.
Yes, and you are very valuable as well. We appreciate you very much. Very much. Thank you. Thank you for being on our team. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And someone else who's in here who's kind of she done snuck in here like a ninja. Is that Chasa? Wait a minute. We got this person in here. Chasa is in here.
Hey, Charles.
She done jumped in here like poof. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm loving dispatching as usual.
Yeah, carriers are not driving you crazy, are they?
Not today.
Okay. So Chasa, for those who don't know, Chasa and I, we've had a series of what's called load board mastery seminars, where those who signed up with that would stand over the shoulder of virtually of Chasa while she talks about load boards and how to navigate the load boards, how to manipulate the load boards, and then how to book the loads for the carriers, her carriers. She uses her carriers in real time to do that. So we haven't discussed another load board mastery seminar as of yet, but I'm sure at some point it's coming downstream. But that's what Chasa does. She actually books the loads in real time for the carriers in a load board mastery class, and showing you how to do it to give you a real world perspective of how it's done. So I see some hands raised, but let's see Regina. So Ash was the last question, but Regina raised her hand. So
okay, I just wanted to know the email that you sent me on the 22nd. I can go there and sign up for the portal.
Yeah, there's an echo in your background there. I don't know.
I know.
2 devices.
We're trying to be in separate rooms.
Okay, got it.
Harry, turn it down.
I would say, do me a favor. If you got my phone number, you probably do. Give me a call tomorrow. That way we can talk about that. So I'll know which one you're talking about.
Okay, I just wanted you to let us in the portal so we can start learning.
So you submitted that email already?
No, I'm supposed to submit you an email first.
Right. So when you enroll in the course, in the receipt of your purchase, there's a PDF. In that PDF, it instructs you to go to the website to set up your email and password to access the portal.
Okay.
Okay.
I do have that email. I just have not accessed it yet. So okay.
Okay. So just follow the instructions. Just follow the instructions that came with the PDF that was attached to that email.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. All right, guys. We will do that as soon as we get down here. I'm just reading over some stuff in the back. Okay. All right, guys. That is it for this evening. Our next training for live Zoom training will be this Saturday, and I'm going to go to the Zoom calendar to show it to you. This Saturday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, under Dispatcher 101, right here, you see the live Zoom training schedule. If you click that, it goes to our Zoom training page. Everyone who's gotten in here correctly, this is mainly for the benefit of those who are going to see this on YouTube or in our portal, but this is where you go to access the portal on those days. Like we had one on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, Wednesday, which is now at 6 p.m., and Saturday at 12 noon. And the join now button with the meeting ID and passcode is the same meeting ID and passcode. It's just on those different days, okay? And we have a calendar for each month that we have. We're in the current month of April. So our next one will be, today is the 26th, our next one will be the 29th. So it's kind of easy to follow, right? It's kind of difficult to kind of get lost by when, hey, Charles, when is your next Zoom training? Go to the Zoom, right? Go to the Zoom. And I don't want to sound like, I'm talking to you like you're an idiot or anything. I'm just saying, but go to the Zoom page and click the Zoom button, go down to the calendar, or look at the Zoom, schedule. So, right? Chaucer, you had your hand raised.
I'm sure you're going to be upset with me. I'm sorry. I know everybody's trying to leave. I just have a quick question when it comes to the Zoom meetings. Each day that we do have a Zoom meeting, it's labeled differently. I think Wednesday is beginners, Saturday is intermediate, Sunday is Exodus University. Could you just do me a favor and kind of explain to me the difference and the intermediate and Exodus University days?
So I'm definitely going to change that because we are not following those underlying headers in those days. Okay. But when we were, the Wednesday was for the beginners and those who signed up for our one-day seminar, ideally. The Saturdays was more intermediate and / advanced, which I'm going to take that away. I'm going to go in there and just say, probably it's all going to be beginner level because everyone's going to advance or become intermediate at their own time and at their own pace. So I'm going to probably do Wednesdays and Saturdays as Wednesdays beginner seminar, and then Saturdays beginners and Q&A, if you will. And then Sundays, Exodus University, it's still a project. It's in the works where we have dispatcher and freight broker, well, in this case, dispatcher students who also have skill sets in other areas still related to the transportation industry. Like, for example, and I don't want to pick on LaDonna, but she has expertise in trucking, compliance, and things like that. So offering a service separately outside of Exodus, but part of the network through Exodus University. Like you, for example, load board mastery seminar. So if you were to go to Exodus, it's actually on our website, but we haven't opened up the page yet, Exodus University, where we have our students offering their specific skill set skills as an additional service through our internetwork. Like you offer load board mastery seminar, Chasa. So you would say, well, I'm having my trainings on this day. Here's the time, here's the cost for that. LaDonna, trucking, compliance, other people offer, and I've spoken to the people who I'm going to include in Exodus University. I'm still speaking to those people, vetting them out, and I've got my web team building that in the background. Trust me, it's still happening. It's just taking some time because there's a lot of things that I'm doing in the background that you guys have no idea, and well, some of you do, but are not aware of, but it's coming downstream, okay? It is going to, what it will do is add value to the network. So those of you who are just coming in, this is going to wow you in the next 6 months or so, Exodus University, because it's going to add value. Those who say they're having a hard time finding carriers, there is going to be a carrier representative in the Exodus University that will get you a carrier the next day. I guarantee that. So, but that's what that means. On that Zoom page, Chas, I don't want to get off topic, but on the Zoom page, we will change the subheaders under each day, right? To reflect what we really do on that day. Because some days I'll play it by ear. Like today, I was going to go over basics, but I said, well, I'm going to open up for Q&A because I want to see where everybody's head is at so I can kind of gauge and then bring it in. So as an instructor, I kind of felt that today, right? And I'm appreciative of you guys because you gave me the latitude to do so. So, okay. So my structure in this part of the training is that there is no structure in that part of the training, right? But it's still good because it still gets what you guys need, right? So, right? Hopefully that answered the question, Chasa.
Yeah, that definitely answered the question. Thank you.
Okay. All right, you're welcome. All right, guys. I'm actually in my office. I know you see in the background. My wife is texting me like, when are you coming home? As soon as Chasa stop asking me these questions. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'm in my office. I'm going to process it and then head out. But thank you guys. Thank you again. I couldn't have done it without you. Today was very busy. We did a commercial. I'm sorry. We did a taping on our local news, the #1 local news station in the Hampton Roads area, Wavy TV 10, Fox 43. I did a 3 to 4 minute segment on what's called the Hampton Roads show. I'm going to be pasting the link to that video in our different social media outlets, so you guys can take a look at that. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, the actual video of the conversation with myself and the newscaster there. So, and talking about dispatching and freight brokering and the transportation industry and how you can make money without a CDL, working from home, and without buying a truck. So, and it's going to hit millions of viewers. So at some point, I'm going to have to be hiring some people because I know I got like 15, 20 calls today. And we just did it. So my emails, my wife has said my emails are blowing up. So yada, yada, yada. So, but again, I thank you guys for that because without you, there would not be me, you know? So I always circle back to humility and being grateful for what we have with the Exodus Logistics Learning Centers and your guys' willingness to participate in that and the value that we give to you guys, right? And through you guys. So we're very much here at the Exodus Logistics Learning Center are very much appreciated. And when I say we, I'm talking about myself, my wife, and my team, which includes LaDonna and other aspects of people. Chasa's on the team. She adds value to Exodus and everyone else. That Mr. Nelson, Mr. Irwin, my mentors, everyone who's involved and who's touched our lives in Exodus is part of the team, including the students, you guys. So we're very much appreciative of that. If you want to become a part of the family, now I'm speaking to those who want to be on the YouTube channel and our social media outlets, those of you who are guests on here now and considering a training provider, if you want to become a part of that family, just reach out to us, go to our website here, and consider it. Right now would be a good time if you want to save some money, because we're offering our ongoing training course at half off, 50%. Promo code, 50% off. So what better way to get in than now? So that's just a little plug to promote the company. But again, thank you guys. And look at that, still 33 people in here listening. Look how dedicated everyone is to one another and wanting to learn and network. So hopefully I'll be able to invite you guys to the Logistics Learning Center. We can either go to the casinos, go bowling, sit down and have a good time, and network and chop it up and have an event here locally. So
Charles, hey Charles,
yes.
I said we all still in here listening because we're waiting on you to say the free cookies.
Those cookies got stale. I had to throw them away, man. I got to go get some more cookies from the bakery.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to make an announcement, though, probably in like June or July, if you guys are able to make your way out here to visit, to meet me in person and things like that, that would be fine. Come to the Logistics Learning Center and for like a weekend or something like that. Monica said yes in all bold letters. Yes, I would love to meet you guys in person, obviously. My wife always talks about it. Why don't you invite your students to the center? I said, I will once I get everything up and going, you know, and it's coming along. It's fine. Once you see this is 1,907 square foot conference room, pretty big, but not just to the center, but just have a social gathering, a networking of sorts. And then you'll be in the Virginia Beach area, so you can put your feet in the Atlantic Ocean on the beach or go to our newly renovated or newly built casino out here. You know, the Rivers Casino, or go bowling. You don't want to go bowling because I tell you guys off. So you don't want to do that. You don't want that smoke, like the young kids say. But anyway, so, but yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate you guys being in the in this network, in this family, if you will, because I consider us a family, because we're here to help each other. This training, the goal of my training and the philosophy and the mentality of the training is to help one another, to bring each other up, to bring the next person up. You know, hopefully it's not a selfish mentality or selfish network. We want to help each other, you know, and I'm as transparent as possible. So, all right. All right, guys, I will see you on Saturday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. If something changes at any point in time this week or any week going forward, and I have to cancel the training, I will let you guys know at least 2 days ahead of time. Right? Like an emergency, I have to do something, I have to be somewhere that's important, like a major meeting that's going to affect the network and things like that, or the learning center. Definitely, I'll let you know. Okay. But otherwise, I'll see you on Saturday at 12 noon. Okay. And Eugene, I have not forgot about you. You and I doing a one-on-one, so you can give me a presentation, and then we present it to the group as a training. Okay.
Yes, sir. Sounds great.
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. I will see you on Saturday.